Alleged serial killer Bruce McArthur will appear in court this morning for what police say will be a, quote, significant development in the case. McArthur faces 8 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of men from Toronto's gay community. The 67-year-old has made several court appearances since being arrested last January. Joining us this morning is criminal lawyer and partner at Ruby, Schiller, and Enajor Di Giuseppe, Anna Maria and Enajor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Good morning, Ben.
Okay, so McArthur waived his right to a preliminary hearing in October. That created speculation that a plea deal could be in the works. Is that what we're looking at today?
It certainly appears to be the case. That's most likely to be what the announcement is going to be today. There's some speculation that it could be also additional charges laid on Mr. McArthur. However, it's not necessary for the police to make that announcement in court. So the fact that it's going to be an in-court announcement sort of speaks to the fact that it could most likely be a guilty plea that we're seeing from him.
Okay, so he's facing 8 counts of first-degree murder. Each one carrying a minimum sentence of life in prison. We don't know whether these would be served consecutively or concurrently. The trial was set for January 20th. I have to assume that it wouldn't have been a short trial. In the case of someone who's accused of such serious crimes, if they do in fact say, I'm pleading guilty to all this, I'm saving the time and the money and the effort, as well as the emotional expense on the families of the victims, by pleading guilty, does any time get shaved off?
So the only question when it comes to first-degree murder convictions with respect to sentences is whether the parole ineligibility period, so the 25 years parole ineligibility period, is served consecutively or concurrently. The laws changed in 2011, meaning that, and what that change brought into play is that any offenses committed after 2011, the courts can impose now a concurrent sentence, which means the 25-year ineligibility periods are stacked up against each other. So he could potentially be facing 8 25-year parole ineligibility periods.
One after the other.
One after the other. Now, he's an elderly man, so I don't think that there's going to be much debate about whether or not this man, his conviction is essentially going to be a life sentence in jail forever. But what you do have to think about is whether or not some of the offenses predate 2011. And in that case, then the parole ineligibility periods will be concurrent, which means they will be served at the same time.
All right. Meanwhile, what a lot of people have found interesting, he has actually been in and out of court quite often since his arrest. I think the last time was just a few weeks ago. What do you make of something like that?
It means that there's a lot of movement going on in the case, that his counsel and the Crown and the police are not just sitting on their heels. There's been a lot of dialogue, discussion going on.
And this is stuff that he needs to be there for.
Right, yes. So he needs to be there in order to anticipate the possibility of giving his counsel instructions on the record, so things like that. Generally, it's not necessary for him for him to always be there, but it depends on the purpose of the appearance. But the fact that there's been a lot of movement, a lot of appearances, means that there's something going on in the background.
Well, the entire country was gripped by this case and will continue to do so up until we figure out what's going to happen with this guy. Anna Maria, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right.